So here's something, we'll go through regular formula. Let's talk just real quick since we're on this subject of defined benefit plans. Defined benefit plans is a 401k on steroids. When I say on steroids, like nuts. There's a third-party administrator that he's actually on my team, but he's been working with guys like Eric Jensen, Brian Loiso, Sean Patrick, Bill Mitchell, Mark Guerra. He lives in Las Vegas. His name's Rich Cromwick. I could actually, if it's worth his time, I could actually have him come out to your guys' office. He would do that and train for you guys. He's an interesting guy. He's basically like Rain Man. You know the Rain Man guy? No, I'm serious. He's unbelievable, right? Right, Mark? Probably the smartest guy I've ever met. Really quirky dude from Boston, but a genius when it comes to defined benefit plans. He specializes in defined benefit plans, but he administers a lot of my 401k plans as well. So a defined benefit plan, who is that for? Higher net worth people. Ideally, you want to try to have it to where they hardly have any employees or none at all. Because let me give you two examples. Let's say it's a doctor that makes $1 million a year, 755, whatever it is, and he has a doctor's office, and he's got like 10 employees, and he's like, man, I need tax deductions. Well, I show him that we put everything together. In a 401k, you have you have no discrimination. You're allowed to, you have to offer it to everybody and that works there. The defined benefit plan, and it's voluntary, right? It's the employee. It's a voluntary. They don't have to participate. In a DB plan, it's different. Because of how it's structured, let's just use an example. I did a doctor's office. The doctor could put away like 150 grand, but he had to give away about 50,000 to his employees to do so. There's an algorithm and a sort of a computation on, you know, based off, and it's really funky. That's why you need a guy like Rich. It's based off of every employee's age, how long they've worked there. I mean, there's a lot of factors. So like example, Mary, who's 52, you know, she makes, and is based off of salary too. Her contribution that the doctor had to give was like 8 grand. But Susie, who's 25, who's even been there longer, who makes more money, her contribution's only 4 grand because of age and stuff like that. Let's take out that whole complication and just talk about the client I just helped. So a client of mine, he makes over $2 million a year. He puts about 50, 60 grand a year into his life insurance policies with me. Built a relationship with them over the years. Never got too deep with his financial stuff. You know, over time you'll find with higher net worth clients, sometimes it takes time to get everything, you know, and have them talk about everything. He told me what he's got, but it was in stocks, like straight up stocks in his 401k. He has a SEP and all this kind of stuff. So we're having lunch and just doing a review on his life insurance. And I'm like, Greg, how much did you have to stroke a check for taxes this year? He said 400 grand. I'm like, damn, brother. Yeah. Right? I'm like, damn. And he's like, yeah, you know, it is what it is. And I said, well, what if I was able to reduce that for you and redirect the money for future retirement assets? Would that be something of interest? He goes, oh, absolutely. And he goes, what do you got? And I said, well, it's called a defined benefit plan. And he goes, you know, my partner had a defined benefit plan. And when he got divorced, it got really screwed up. And I go, it can. So something like that. And here's the thing, guys. There's a lot of things that can screw it up from a tax standpoint that you have to have someone like Rich to really be on it. That's, you know, that's why he administers it on an annual basis. There's a lot to these plans. But for Greg, he just turned 45. He just sent me all the numbers in. There's a certain amount of money you could fund until you're 62 years old. And it's not what you put in, it's what you put in plus the interest and growth. So you have to be very careful on even. Rich has told me, Mike, move that money out of the market. What? Are you kidding me? He goes, no. He's like, I can't have it make that too much money right now. Seriously. And I'm like, okay. You know, you got to be careful on some of that stuff. So but here's the deal. Talk to Greg, He already max funded his SEP IRA for the year, $53,000. Okay, so we get on with Rich, and Rich says, "Sorry, I can't do the DB plan for you for 19 unless you renege on the
the plan.
73 grand.
Yeah.
You got to
take
that out." And I'm like, "He's got to do what? Like, he's got to retake it out." And Rich is like, "Yeah." So basically came up with a plan to where he's able to put in 220 grand. How much could you put in a 401? 19 plus, maybe 40 grand. SEP 53,000. So he's able to put in four times what he put in the SEP IRA. Wow, that's huge, guys. So that 220 is a complete deduction off of his income for the year. It's going to save him about $100,000 in taxes. So next year, if he makes the same, instead of writing 4, he'll probably write 3. That's huge. So we got it all set up. He basically called, I think, his broker or whatever that he has his stocks with. He sold off some Ford stock and basically took out. We did the calculation. It was like the discrepancy was like 40,000. So he's liquidating 40,000 so he can do this the DB plan. He has till the end of the year to liquidate. But yeah, he put 220 grand in. He said to me, he goes, "Mike, here's how I want it to be invested." He goes, "I want it to get about a 4 to 7% average rate of return. And I want some type of downside protection if that's something that's available out there. I'm just sort of over of the volatility of the market." Cool. Brought to him I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Allianz Indexed Advantage Variable Annuity. Very cool product. Showed him that strategy, and he put 220,000 in that. So if it was a 401k structure, I'd probably make about 30 bips. 0.30 of 1%, whereas the annuity paid me 5.2%. And he goes, "Hey, can I put another 200 in January?"
Sure.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's cool about these DB plans, that every year they're going to fund them. I have another client. We did a DB plan. He makes 7 figures a year. So far, between him and his ex-wife, they put over $1 million in their plan. Every October, usually, is when they fund it, because the anniversary is in, I think, November. So I'm like, "Hey, if you put it in now, you get an extra 6% bump." I have it in Jackson, VA, with a rider on it. But every year that goes in, it's like a new piece of business. So think about this, guys. My goal is to have like 10 clients like that, where each of them are putting about 200 in a year. Do the math. That's a guaranteed 2 million in rollable assets, a guaranteed 120,000 points a year, just from the DB plans that you're doing. So DB plans they're nuts. They're pretty cool.
They're defined benefits.
Defined benefit cash balance plan.
So they define a benefit back to the client ultimately, right? Mm-hmm. So can you speak on the mechanism of that?
It's just not necessarily. It's just how it's structured. Really. It's basically a 401k on steroids.
Gotcha.
It's really cool.
Just allows you to put more.
It allows you to put money into it per the IRS code.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
So have you ever looked into the one that, Crump can do this? Do you know? Yeah, okay. Just curious. Just didn't know if you know anything about it.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good.
Good question. Dealing with Rich is like dealing with the Einstein and the guy. Defined marketplace.
So who am I? I'm just looking for higher net worth people. A good prospect for this would be. Is there a certain
commercial real estate people? Commercial real estate people. They make money. They're not saving. A lot of their assets are in real estate. They invest a lot in real estate. But these guys are in the $500,000 plus range. I don't care who you are, what your investment strategy is. If you could pay less and more taxes and put it back into your pocket, it's a conversation to have.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about the developer and the agent. When you say commercial
Agents, man, he's a broker now. Like he opened his own office, but I mean, these guys are doing well. Yeah. My brother's a commercial real estate guy. He's about 400 to 500 a year, and he does leasing, commercial leasing. That's what he does. So yeah, those guys, like a Colliers, a Cushman and Wakefield, those type of companies are the ones. Again, LinkedIn. It's a great example on, friend requesting or whatever people on LinkedIn in that market. Doctors. The thing about doctors too, it starts to get a little hairy when there's employees, because again, A lot of doctors are, no offense, they're cheap. They make money, but they're cheap, and they don't want to give money away. That's just how they are. That's what I have found, at least.
Defined benefits they can have.
Yeah, but they'll do the 401s, you know. But the problem is they need to save it. It's just some aren't willing to give it up, you know. So I'd say, yeah. I mean, who else to find? Business owners, you know, business owners that make money. Yeah, I mean they're out there, right? So it just depends on that market.
So this guy sets up all the back end.
He does all the
That's
administration.
the head, I mean, that's
Yeah. So he'll get on the phone with the client with you. He has a census data sheet that he has you gather. From the census data sheet, he'll then put together the calculations and the plan, and it'll show like how much they can fund and all that kind of stuff. We as the advisors then choose where we put it, investment wise. Yeah.
It can be whatever.
It could be like a 401k platform with like trans.
It could be an AUM.
It could be AUM. It could be any type of annuity. Yeah, it could be a lot.
But he's tracking it throughout the year, so he knows, hey, we can't. But we got, like he said, he put money on it.
We'll do it every. So he needs to see the December 31st closing statement on the account balance every year before he administers, so he knows based off of that last calculation how much they can put in for the year. So every year it will actually fluctuate of what they can put in. So like I don't know if Greg will be able to put in 200 again. He might only be able to put in 80. I don't know. It's a calculation. He has a pretty good idea with the client, like, hey, here's a projection of what I believe. Like a lot of times he'll have them front load it pretty hard up front and then pull back a lot. Like that's what I do with my buddy Tommy. Like he was putting, one year he put 375 grand in. And the last couple of years he put like 75 grand or 100 grand in. So, you know.
So what happens if they have a bad year and all that? Right?
They don't have to fund it.
Okay, so this is
They don't have to fund
very
it.
flexible.
Very flexible. They don't have to, like
Wow.
Tommy, my buddy
Wow,
Tommy,
that's
who has
great.
$1 million something in
I
the
love
land.
that.
He hasn't funded. He just bought a new home. He's like, hey man, I'm not gonna fund it this year. He's like, my tax guy said based off of everything I got going on, I'm pretty cool. I said, good, no problem, man. When you want to fund it, just let me know. He still's got to administer it.
And that costs.
He still's got to pay the administration fee.
Okay.
A couple grand each.
Okay, so it's similar like
It's a tax
full-
write-off. They don't really care.
Right.
So that's DB plans. Okay?
Awesome.
And then you've got your traditional 401ks, you know, for companies. Now there's two ways to do that. One, you could take over an existing plan, which is not that difficult, to be honest with you. And there are certain documents you need to request. I forget, I have them written down. It's like the 40, it's a couple different fee schedules basically that you would ask the client to get for you in order for TAG or Voya or whoever to basically do the research. I was telling someone here, I think it was Pat, that or someone, I was working on a very large plan with Allegiant Airlines. They're in Vegas. Got in the door, sat down with them. We murdered their fidelity plan by $300,000 a year in fees.
Wow.
They didn't.
Was that with Tag or with your guy? Voya.
No, trans. It was trans.
Trans.
They didn't move forward because they didn't want to do it, right? But you should have seen this comparison. It's very impressive. They put the logos in there. I mean, it was like, wow. I was like, well, this is pretty cool. Put the logos in. They printed out brochures.
They white label it, right? Or they label
Oh,
it
yeah,
with.
They flew out a whole team to meet with them. I mean, the whole deal, man.
They're big, right? I mean,
Allegiant?
They're out of Rock. They fly out of Rockford.
Transamerica manages a lot of money, right?
Oh yeah. And they'll fly out, guys. They'll come out and do this.
Did they ultimately
meeting
say
with-
why they didn't do it? They just politics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too many decision makers. The biggest thing was they have an ESOP, and trans can do an ESOP, but it's a real pain. You know, ESOP guys is like an employee stock program, and we're not 7 Life. You know, so it's tough.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's tough.
So after you write the plan, then you got to how do you?
So
set up-
let's say you take over a plan.
What about the employees?
So say you take over a plan. You now, guys, are the advisor on that plan. You now have to do an enrollment, okay? Depending on the size of the company, if it's a smaller company, you can do it in one shot. I did a company with 100 employees. We did 3 meetings, 3 or 4 meetings, I think. The enrollment meeting is where it's at, though.
What do you do? Bring your team with you?
I do. Usually bring a couple guys with me. If it's 10 people, I do it myself. If it's 100, yeah, I actually on that one I brought one guy with me, and I'll do a presentation, and it comes down to, again, here's the 6 areas that I work in. Here's the area we're going to be talking about today, asset accumulation. Here's how your plan works. Here's how a Roth works in your plan. So I talk about pre-tax and Roth. I talk about the contribution limits. I basically briefly go over the plan, and I say, Arthur, Angelo, everyone's different. I don't know how much you should be putting in. You don't know how much you should be putting in. It's very important for you to sit down with me, complimentary, no obligation. And that from there is when a 401k is awesome, because the ancillary business is really where it's at. Really where it's at. So it's not necessarily the plan. The plan's the door opener. Almost like net law could be a door opener for everything else. And that's another really, I can tell you some stories with net law that have, I don't know, one lady at the school with net law, she was looking for a living will and trust. I go, why? She goes, my mother just died and I need to put everything in this trust. I said, well, you have a financial person? No, I never sat down with somebody. That turned into net law, $400,000 rollover, $40,000 rollover, and a $100,000 funded $20,000 a year for 5 years care matters case because of net law. That was the door opener. 401k, guys, is the door opener for all the other stuff there. So you can take over a plan. I have most all my plans are startups from scratch. They didn't have a plan. Like Angela was saying, go in the conversation, taxes, man. People, they can reduce taxes and give their employee a benefit. It's huge. And some employers like it and play ball, and some don't. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot out there that don't offer it. The ones that do have plans in place, the last time they talk to their person is probably never. With compliance and everything that's gone on, the older plans, the employer is actually the fiduciary on the plan, and you as the advisor usually has a lot of fiduciary responsibility. The newer plans today really release that responsibility from us and put it on to the administrator or the BOYA or the record keeper or whoever the case might be, takes it out of our sort of hands and does that. Here's what a lot of these employers don't know. If someone's pissed off about the plan and they sue, it's the employer that's going to be in trouble. Okay, so that's also a problem. That's also a really good hot button for you guys to go, hey, make these calls, get that list or whatever, make those calls and say, hey, when was the last time you did a comprehensive review of your fee schedule, your investment lineup, and has the advisor done any educational workshops in the last 3 years, 2 years? No. That's what the answer is going to be. Sometimes we'll be like, you know what, we actually just switched it over. Thank you for the call, but we're good. Okay. So really, we got solo, we got traditional, and we got DB plans.
Can I take something back? One thing you said, this net law thing.
Hmm?
I always been worried about net law.
Okay. So was I, until I realized how to use it.
That's the part.
I'm not an estate attorney.
Right.
I don't want to be one. I don't even want to know how the lingo works. So I know though that every one of my clients needs it. Say, Arthur, I'm just gonna tell you up front, I'm not an attorney. I'm not gonna answer any attorney type of questions. I don't know a lot of ins and outs of estate planning, but here's what I do know. Your house is not protected, your family's not protected, You need to get this in place. If you go to an attorney in town, we found that Cassidy Law is the cheapest in Vegas at $1,200. Okay, we can do exactly all that stuff for you for $600. And if you do, which you probably will, have an attorney type of question, there's a chat, live chat during business hours. They could chat with an attorney, or pick up the phone call during business hours to actually talk to an attorney to answer those questions. I've never had someone block at that. You're overcoming objections that you have in your head and they have right up front. I'm not an attorney. I don't know. All I'm going to do is enroll them and that's it. That's it.
Yeah, the interesting thing you say. Now, I've been pushing away from that law because I was so afraid that the people are going to fill out these wills, and then when they croak, it's too late then. they already made mistakes. Every state is different. Every state has different laws about how you.
Net law, every trust you do is state specific.
Oh.
So if I live in Nevada, the document's going to be different in Nevada than they are in Illinois. It's state specific. I'm telling you what, it's the best program available. Talk to Mark. Mark is actually
Mark is an expert
Let me
estate
tell you
planner for like 30
Mark
years.
Is the one, Mark is the person that brought net law to WFG, by the way. He is the guy that brought him here. If you want to ask any question, he's the guy. He knows.
I turned so many of those away.
Oh, he does two. He does 2 a week.
Wow, that's great. I'm gonna have to.
That's $2,000 a month in commission. That's $2,000 a month in commission. That hey, and these clients are now helped up.
I don't care about that.
Here's
stuff.
the
I
one
care
thing
about
you
the other
do.
stuff.
Here's the one thing you do have to do with net law. Just like anything else in our business, you have to, Arthur, you have to follow up with the client. Hey, did you get this done? Great. Did you go to the courthouse and get
That's right.
your house put
That's
in
right.
the trust?
Because if you
If it's not funded, then
don't fund it, it's a waste of
it's a
time.
waste of time.
Yep.
You know, did you have the bank accounts put in the trust? You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
see.
But look, we have 6 steps. That 6th step is that.
Yeah, I don't care about the net law. I care about the ancillary business.
Well, you should care about the net law because the net law will bring you ancillary.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Look, I just told you, man. Do the math. 24,000 point. I think I made 25 grand
I'm gonna have to.
because of freaking net law, dude.
Yeah, turn it. So many.
Like
Yeah.
just
They
you
back
know,
on the platform? Or is
They're an OBA.
OBA still?
it's an OBA,
Yeah.
approved OBA. You got to fill
You
out
don't do
a
anything
W-2.
with Legacy Shield at all?
0. I looked at it. I don't like the program. I love
it
it.
recently.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think net law is.
Talk to Mark after about it.
Yeah, talk to Mark. I think net law. I don't think I know it's far more superior of a product. Yeah, I've never had issues with it. The other one, the Legacy Shield has like this ongoing fee. It's really sort of jacked up.
But anyway, okay.
Yeah,
They made some changes, but
Before it was really bad. It's
Yeah.
changed, but it's an MLM too.
yeah, I don't know, but
On
we're
its own.
we're trying to still get from a back office standpoint, guys.
guys, just stay focused.
We're still trying to get net law back on our platform. So just so you guys.
Question. Obviously, you do a lot of personal. You take a personal touch. How do you run the operational side of this? Yeah, but there's limited time in a day. How much staff do you have? Do you have a full-time person? How do you keep all this organized?
Believe it or not, I don't have a full-time person.
So what do you
So
how do you do it?
I just every Monday usually.
What's your
Every Monday, like I said, I get to the office at 8 o'clock in the morning ish. Usually on Mondays for the first 30 or 40 minutes, I follow up on all my cases myself. It takes me not all the time. I have such good rapport with my back office people at every company. They answer my. I never have to. If I leave a message, they call right back, and I just go, "Hey, where we're at with this, and that," and I just, I'm very, very persistent on the follow up on my business. So I've had staff over the year. Right now, I do not have an assistant right now. I had one that left, had a kid and all that, and I've just been doing it for a little bit on my own, which is fine. It's been okay. There's certain stuff obviously you want to leverage and stuff like that. I got a lot of guys on the team, like Angelo probably can, that can leverage too. Some of that stuff that I sort of delegate some stuff to help me with that. But I don't know, 8 in the morning on Mondays, I usually do the follow up on that. I get right into my day. Mondays, it depends. I mean, usually every Monday I have 3 to 4 appointments booked. You know how Mondays go? Half of them will cancel. Yes. So, I don't not book appointments on Monday, but that's usually how a Monday goes down, right? Usually on Mondays, I'll be at the office until 4 to 6 o'clock. I got away about 2 years ago from really doing like late night appointments and stuff personally. I used to not care and do that, but I really like being home. I at least like to be able to pick up my kid. My girls, they're done at gym at 8 o'clock at night. So a lot of times I'll do appointments up until that point to where I can actually pick them up, spend a little bit of time with them. Tuesdays we have our meeting. Tuesdays again, I'm out until 8. We start our meeting at 6:30. We actually do it 30 minutes earlier than 7. We found that works out better that way. We can get out earlier. So we usually go an hour to an hour and a half. During our Tuesday night meeting, we do training, and then we also have a BPM, just like we did last night. We have a training and a BPM presentation. We call it a How Money Workshop. Usually we have like 3 to 4 guests on average for that. The rest of the week is pretty much the same. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Fridays I usually do, I try to leave around 3. I like to have dinner with my wife on Friday. Every other day of the week, I'm pretty late there. Saturdays, we do training every so often on Saturdays. Again, how much do you need training, right? I like people to work. So I like to actually work with a couple guys on Saturdays, and we'll do like a little phone zone together and set up appointments for the week. I feel like Saturdays are usually the best phone zone days because people are off work. I found I get the best results. People actually are answering their phones.
Mornings, afternoons?
Usually around 10 o'clock, 11, I think I rock them in. Give some people to sleep in a little, you know what I mean? And
Sure.
right around that time. I usually work on Saturdays. I'll get in the office maybe 9, be done by 1. And then I usually take Sundays off.
So you're in the office by 8 a.m.
5 days.
5 days a week. It's 9 a.m. on Saturdays, Sundays off.
Yeah.
But you're in the office 6 days a week.
Yeah. Sometimes on Saturdays I'll work from home. But mostly I at least work for an hour or 2 on Saturdays.
How much do you have your clients come to the office, or do you go to them, or both?
So it's funny you say that. I used to do both a lot, and I used to do everything Starbucks here. At all. Or in Hayworth in my old office, I noticed, I was like, every client he has comes to the office. I'm like, dude, how do you get every client? He's like, I hate going to people's homes. He goes, look. He's like, do you go to your CPA's home? Does the CPA come to your house? I go, no, you're right. You're right. No, he doesn't. Well, I sort of switched that mindset too. I'd say I do 85% of my appointments in the office. Yeah. I do go in the field. I have no problem going to people's homes. I actually find that sometimes it's really good to go to people's homes, especially people that have some money and stuff like that, build that rapport. So I give people choice. Hey, what's more convenient, depending on my day, how it's structured, what's more, what's easier for you coming to your home or coming to the house. I also tell people, hey, don't worry, bring your kids. I got Netflix. We can throw Netflix on the big screen, or in the conference room, and no worries, right? So, to answer your question there.
Can you show us, because you talked a lot about during your initial meetings, you go like through the 6 steps.
Mhm.
Can you show us that presentation?
Yep.
And where did you find it?
You play the guitar?
Bass.
The desktop's got a few things on it.
I play. Well, I think too.
It's getting messed up when you
When you put it
Yes,
on the display. Yeah.
It's all this kind of-
Yeah. Correct.
I play bass. I spin turntables.
Is that right?
Scratch and stuff like that. This is my presentation, guys. This is how simple I've made it. I mean, this is what it used to be. This is who we are. The boomers, the da-da-da. Guess what? Excuse my French, no one gives a shit. Our passion behind our mission. You guys know it all. I've done this so many times. This is what I say, but I'm not showing it. So this is what I basically do. See, all of this. Do they care? No. Charts.
I want that presentation.
Again, it goes something like this, Shante. Hey, Shante, how are you doing today? Hey, look, just want to let you know up front, I just want to get to know you. You're here today for me to get to know you. I want to understand where you're at in life, where you came from, where you grew up, how long you've been in Vegas. Vegas different from Illinois. People are pretty transient. So where are you from? Start to build that rapport up. And I want to figure out your goals, and I want to show you my process. So I get to know them first. And I probably spend the most time on building rapport. Sometimes anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, just talking, shooting it. Sometimes we get into, and then I tell my story, just like my story last night, depending on who, I'll tell them, hey, just this is where I come from. This is why I got into the business. I want people to relate to me on a level where they feel comfortable. Like, oh, this guy's just not some financial guy trying to sell me or anything like that. And then I basically say, hey, look, I go through a 6-step process with all my clients. I don't diverge from my process, and this is how I do it. Number one, and then I show them, on my computer, I literally whip it around, I show them this slide. And so here's my process. Number one, we have cash flow. We want to see what's coming in the household and what's going out in total expenses. When I say total expenses, I'm talking about food, gas, the whole thing. Then we want to look at the debt. Most people have some kind of debt when it comes to student loans, credit cards, mortgages, car payments, okay? Our goal here is we want to help you articulate a plan to eliminate this debt and then start taking that money and putting it right back into your cash flow, which brings us to our next step, which is emergency fund. I want to make sure you have an adequate 3 to 6 months of your living expenses saved in a liquid account that hopefully is getting better than a 0.001% at a Wells Fargo or Chase, more like a high yield interest account, which we won't talk more about today, but that's something I'll bring up in our next meeting. So kind of painting the picture too for our next meeting, okay? So you don't want to, basically what I'm saying is you don't want to give it up all up front. You want them to be intrigued to actually come back and get excited about coming back. The next one we're going to talk about is proper protection. This is an area a lot of times that is really overlooked, and people think they're properly protected through whatever they have going on at their job or workforce. This is an area that can contain life insurance, long-term care, disability, proper coverages on your auto insurance, and all that kind of stuff. The next one, probably one of my favorites, is asset accumulation and preservation. This is how and where and what you're building for wealth. What do you have going on with your current 401k if you have one? Do you have any old 401ks? What do you have set up there, which is important? And then, Arthur, we have our last step, which is estate preservation. What I have found in the financial planning process, this is a step that's very much overlooked. And if you have everything else in place, but not this, you don't have a sound plan. So just so you know, Arthur, I'm not an estate attorney, nor do I ever want to be, but we have a phenomenal program that I'll bring to your attention on our next meeting that gives you the ability to structure a living will and trust based off of your goals and your household assets, okay? And then I say, hey, Arthur, out of these 6 steps, what 2 or 3 are most important for you and your family today? And they look at it, well, I said, and if they stall for like a little too long, remember, the first one who talks, what?
Loses.
So if they stall for, I just keep, which 2 or 3? Oh, cash flow and this. I said, let's be honest. I said, in all reality, you probably need a little bit of help in all of these steps. Would that be fair to say? Like, you know what, you're right. I said, great.